Speaking of teas, given these unemployment numbers, Obama's going to need more than 5. What are they called? Not poverty. What 5? Promise zones. Promise zones. He's going to, with these numbers, he's going to need a lot more than 5. He's going to need one at least every state. So he's going to need 57 promise zones. And he's going to need one in Puerto Rico. 5 promise zones is not going to handle this. Anyway, folks, this has been fascinating. After the Christie press conference, it's becoming predictable, and that's not a good thing. You can turn on, Fox has always been unpredictable, but now they're starting to become, and that's MSNBC, CNN, CBS, ABC. They've always been. You knew what they were going to do with Christie. And now you know what's going to happen on the Republican side. And the Republican side take on the Christie press conference was that it was a slam dunk home run. Man, oh man, this guy, greatest leader, greatest potential leader the Republican Party has fielded in who knows how many years. Do you see what this guy did? He made mincemeat of the media. He told the truth. He fired a couple of people. He went out there and he basically buried this thing. And they really thought that was going to be the end of it. You could tell by looking at some of the post-press conference comments. I'm not kidding you. And I was looking at those comments, and I don't know, folks. So much of this, how in the world these learned inside-the-Beltway Republican/conservative media people still, and the Republican Party still don't get. They thought, because of how well they both wanted and thought Christie did yesterday, that was going to end it. And I'm reading these comments some of them are making, and I'm hearing them, and I'm in disbelief. Because all afternoon, all you had to do was turn on CNN and find out that yesterday was just the beginning. And they're not going to stop until they fix it. They're not going to stop until they have either gotten rid of or discredited Christie to their satisfaction. They've got federal action investigations going on. They've got this friend of his at the Port Authority took the Fifth Amendment. That's got them all excited during a hearing in Trenton. There's no way they're going to let this go. And there's no way. Letterman last night had Anderson Cooper on, and they told... It was the whole Letterman show last night was, well, not the whole show, but I mean, almost the whole, it's just made mincemeat of Christie. Just sliced and diced and threw him to the whales. It was, I accidentally saw it, channel surfing around. I finished watching what I was watching. I was on Apple TV and I switched back to DirecTV, and for some reason, it was on the CBS affiliate, maybe from the football game over the weekend. It was Letterman. I don't watch Letterman. But there's Anderson Cooper and Letterman, and they're talking about Christie, and I'm remembering what I heard all these learned Republicans say about how Christie had a slam dunk yesterday and ended it and buried it, and they are just ripping Christie apart. And everywhere else in the drive-by media, the same thing. If you go to anything published, if you go to anything on the air, TV, or radio, the left is just salivating now. And in fact, Paul Bedard at the Washington Examiner and the Media Research Center did some studies, and they found out that the big 3 networks spent 17 times as much, or covered Christie's story at a rate of 17 times more coverage in one day than they covered Obama's IRS scandal in 6 months. Just the 3 broadcast networks, their nightly newscasts and everything, and their cable affiliates. 17 times in one day more coverage of Christie, and none of it favorable. 17 times more coverage than they gave the IRS scandal in 6 months. And all of these learned inside-the-Beltway Republican types who said that Christie hit a slam dunk and a grand slam and buried this and gave him what for. and this is the model for how you do it and all that. Even they had a caveat, which is he better be telling the truth when he said he didn't know. He better be telling the truth when he said that he asked his staff for a report and they lied to him. He better be telling the truth that he had absolutely no knowledge of this in any way, shape, or manner. He better be. They've attached a caveat to it. Which, what does that mean? No, seriously, what does that mean? Take your pick. It doesn't matter the names. I mean, you want a name? I don't know that this guy said it, but let's just make my point. Brit Hume. Let's say that Brit Hume was on Fox and praising Christie, Grand Slam. I don't know that it was Hume, but let's just throw a name. Okay, you don't like, let's say Dr. Krauthammer. Pick a name, doesn't matter. Okay, Dr. Krauthammer, let's just assume, I don't know if he did or not. Well, actually, I do. Praised Christie's performance of the hilt. Slam dunk, model. This is how you do it. Spend as much time with the media as it takes. Tell them what for. Get rid of it. Sweep it. Put it behind you and move on. Great leadership. Classic illustration of how you do it. And then you say, but it could all fall apart if he's not telling the truth. Now, when whoever adds that caveat, what does that tell you, the viewer? Yeah, exactly. It tells me if they've got to throw in the caveat, if he's not lying, it means they don't know either if he's lying or not. Now, I don't want to get too fine with this, but if they are not sure after the 2-hour presser that Christie was being honest, then why praise it to the hilt? No, I'm not trying to stir anything up. I'm just doing what I always... Folks, I observe and I come here. I'm a journalist. In a sense, I observe and I come here and I tell you what I saw. And I have unending curiosity. I ask questions about practically everything. That's how I learn. So that's all I'm doing. I'm not going to stir anything up. Now, the Republican leadership, the establishment, they're all upset because I compared them, the rhinos, to wildebeests. And we've got, of all the things I said yesterday, that's the takeaway. We got the sound bites on that coming. So we'll get to that and other details. But that is a startling stat. 17 times in one day, 17 times the coverage the media spent on Obama and the IRS scandal in 6 months. And the second part of the observation on the inside-the-Beltway Republican establishment types, after they said and thought that Christie had hit a home run in the press conference, they were then shocked. They were surprised. The coverage kept going. That's what gets me. Maybe I'm going to have to give average, ordinary voters a pass for not figuring out the left. Because if our political people inside the Beltway still to this day cannot predict what the left is going to do with a scandal like this, if they do not understand, if they really think that a Republican could go out and end a scandal with a press conference, it tells me that they still don't know the nature of the enemy and what we're really up against. And that's a shocking but true, sad reality. All right, a brief timeout. A couple more things on the economy, and then your calls mixed in with the audio soundbite roster on what are they calling it? Lane Gate? Christie Gate? What's the name of this scandal? You haven't heard? Bridgegate. That's what it is. Bridgegate. Okay. All that coming up. I know you can't wait. I can't wait to get started with it, so sit tight.